Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to another one of our fly fishing tutorials. You know, it was just a few short weeks ago, here we are in the summer of 2025, we released a video that we did with our dear friend from Tight Line Video, Mr. Tim Flagler. Long story short, but you can go back and watch the video, but Tim and I were talking a lot about wet flies. We had a fishing episode where we were fishing wet flies. We came back to the studio here and tied a couple of wet flies. And then we drew on our whiteboard, we drew up some rigs and talked about rigging, which there will be more of that to come. But there was one part that Tim showed me that was, to me, and I'm not the smartest guy going, but a really cool trick.
To the rig. Okay, so
that is cool.
Okay.
And that was how to do a simple way on how to do a dropper. And a lot of times we'll fish wet flies on what we call a brace. And that brace might have 2, 3, 4, even more flies in it. I usually don't go that extreme. I usually fish maybe 2 different flies. But you can also do this with, of course, Euro nymphing. It's very popular in Euro nymphing, and most of all, drop shot nymphing. Drop shot nymphing, the whole concept is to have 2, maybe 3 different flies, and your split shot at the bottom, so you cover the water column. It is actually a wildly effective. I am not an expert at drop shotting. We're headed out to Montana here in a few weeks to visit our great friend Kelly, and he is a big fan and a drop shotting expert. So I'm gonna try to learn some stuff and share with you more about that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to go ahead and show you this trick that Tim showed us. Basically, what Tim is doing and how he gets his dropper setups and his tippet is by tying a non-slip loop knot. It's a little tricky because you have to tie the knot big, depending on how long you want your dropper to be and then how far you want the 2 flies to be apart. So you're gonna have to play around with this a little bit, but it's super simple. And if you're not familiar with the non-slip loop, I can tie any knot, anything. I am invincible. I don't know where I would be without my click magnifiers. Of course, available at madriveroutfitters.com. Click in. Oh. If you're not familiar with the non-slip loop knot, there's a video right here. And if you can't see that link, there's a link down in the description, of course, as there always is. So I'm just gonna tie a non-slip loop knot, and I'm coming maybe about 2 foot, maybe a little more up my tippet, okay? And I tie the non-slip loop knot. So what you do is just make an overhand knot in your tippet first, and then bring the end of the tippet up and through that overhand knot. And now, just now, it's basically a clinch knot. I'm gonna come around 5 times. And then you're gonna come back down and through that overhand knot that you formed. In a clinch knot, you're coming through that original loop that's next to the fly. This time I'm just coming down and through that original overhand knot that I tied. And then you're gonna cinch it down. Super easy. And then I'm gonna come in, I'm tying this with backing, by the way. And no, you would never do this with backing. We're doing this obviously so you can see it. And we'll trim that tag in. Although I suppose you could theoretically leave that tag in if you wanted to and tie a fly onto that. you would have to make that tag in quite a bit longer in order to do that. And that's also going to put the two flies relatively close. So after you do this a few times, you'll get good at measuring. So there I have my non-slip loop, okay? This is also referred to at times as a lefty's loop. Lefty Cray used to use this knot a lot. So how far off of the main line do you want your first fly to be dangling? And let's say I want it to be about 6 or 7 inches. Well, all I do is come in and cut one of those legs about 6 or 7 inches, remembering that you're going to have to tie a clinch knot or whatever knot you choose to tie the fly on, and I cut it. And now you have your dropper, and you can tie on your main fly or your point fly that's going to be bouncing along the bottom, or in the case of what Tim and I were talking about with the wet fly rig, you just hang one wet fly off here, go with one color, one size, another off this end, and then you've got an easy 2-fly rig. Yes, this can tangle, of course. Any fly fishing system can tangle, but as long as you're careful with your casting, it shouldn't present a major problem. But that's a super, super easy way of getting a dropper rig so that you can fish 2 flies in tandem. Again, use this on a wet fly rig, whether you're fishing with poly leaders or just a standard leader and you're swinging flies, or whether you're doing a drop shot rig so that you've got 2 flies, 2 different flies at 2 different levels in the water column. It's a pretty slick trick. I was pretty blown away. It's something I had never seen anybody do that before. And of course, leave it to Tim Flagler, man. He is full of really cool tricks and tips, not only for fly tying, which of course he's well known for, but he's also an excellent, excellent angler. So thank you for that, Tim. Don't worry, there's going to be more Tim. I think we're heading over to Pennsylvania to do some filming with Tim. Later on in the season. Here's one that I actually did a couple of different non-slip loops. It's a little tricky to do. But I could get 3 flies on this one, and that would be really useful for a drop shot rig, or again, just swinging wet flies, or for that matter, a standard nymph rig. I do still tie a lot of flies in tandem. Okay, I'll tie the fly on by the eye, add some tippet to the bend of the hook. But this is, I certainly have used droppers like this before, but this is a cool way of doing it. So for those of you that asked for a demo, there you have it. Just practice your non-slip loop knot, and then make one simple cut. You just cut one leg of that loop, an instant dropper. So thanks again to Tim Flagler for sharing that with us. That's the cool part about fly fishing, and that's what keeps me doing it, is I'm always learning. I'm always learning new things and always seeking out new things. And that was a new one to me. I had never seen it done, and apparently from the response that we got here on YouTube and on social media, it was the same for a lot of you. So there you have it, friends, a non-slip loop. Cut one leg of it, and you've got an instant tag for a dropper fly. So thanks as always for being here, friends. We really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hop on over to our website and buy some stuff. We count on your support of Matter of Outfitters in order to continue to do these videos, so we really appreciate that. Also, register for our monthly newsletter. There's a link on the homepage of our website to do that, and that way you never miss out on anything that we're up to, where we're heading, new products, all kinds of stuff. So we appreciate you being here. Be sure to stay tuned. We've got a lot more fly fishing content coming your way.